Hi, this is Maria Quattrone with Be the Solution. And today I am so excited for my guest, Mark Hiller. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I wanted to be in a business that I did not have a ceiling. Take a pen and a piece of paper, draw a line, draw another line next to it. At 365 days, if you drew 365 lines, you started here with one line, but look how far you've come.
Good morning, Mark.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being my guest. I'm so excited to talk with you. Mark, how's the weather there in Florida?
Absolutely gorgeous. 85 degrees. It's been in the 85 to 90 range, but we've had a lot of rain here recently, but the last couple of days we've just been absolutely phenomenal.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk with you today. Like all of us, we all have a journey that we've walked through to get to where we are. I know you've had a fabulous last 18 months with 275 families served in your area. And that just didn't happen by accident. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about your journey. How'd you get into real estate?
Well, I started in real estate back in 2013. I actually was fired from my previous job. They found me no longer employable due to my alcohol problem. So I went immediately into rehab and spent 30 days in rehab, got out and said, what am I going to do with my life? And luckily my father is an agent. And so he said, hey, I think you should give real estate a try. So, after getting my license and studying and trying to live that sober life, ended up getting my license and didn't just hit the ground running. It took a while. The first 18 months I was in real estate, I sold 3 houses.
Oh.
And that was a very humbling time.
How did you live?
Honestly, I went to work. I originally started with one brokerage and didn't really work out. It was the team model and it just wasn't really for me. But I had to get some immediate income. So I went to a small boutique brokerage and I was working in the rental department, basically 8 hours a day. But I would get to the office at 4 a.m., work real estate from 4 to 8, then work an 8-hour shift. And then as soon as that was done, then back to real estate, kind of just learning as much as I could and following up with leads. And it was a grind. 18-hour days were the norm for me for probably the first 5 years in this business, 7 days a week.
Wow. What did you learn from that?
Never give up. Determination. And I'll tell you, I had mentors along the way. Obviously my father being the first coach I had, the free coach was the best part about it. And, he kept saying, son, keep doing what you're doing. It will come. Keep doing what you're doing. It will come. And, there was a lot of days where I just wanted to throw in the towel. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is, I'm following up. I'm calling. And then, obviously one day it just started working. And then, once I started getting a couple sales under my belt, that the momentum started building. And we talk a lot about that in the groups I'm in. Once you get that momentum going, everything can kind of change. You got the confidence going. And, I was able to sell, I think 39 houses that next year. And then at that point I was like, now I'm buried. I need help. So I got my first assistant when I had closed 39 transactions.
So you took the leap of faith and you brought that first assistant on. And then did you have agents as well at that time, or?
No, it was just the assistant and myself. And, I'm a student of the industry. So I had, following podcasts and webinars and realizing that, your business is supposed to double when you bring that assistant on. So the next year I did like 56 transactions and I'm like, that's not really double. What's going on here? So I was kind of really looking at the business and the following year I did 58. And I came to realize that, although I hired that assistant, it wasn't the right assistant. I was still having to double check and help out and really make sure everything was done correctly. I was so grateful just to get any help that I didn't realize it at first. Isn't
that interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. And then at that point, I said, okay, we parted ways, and I hired the right assistant, and immediately I doubled my business. And then at that point, I brought on a transaction coordinator. We jumped another 30 transactions after that. And then it was time, okay, I can't do anymore. It was time to get a buyer's agent. So I brought a buyer's agent on last year, and we increased our volume by another 35 transactions. And she was a brand new agent, never sold a house, and sold 38 houses in her first year. So that was, and I'm looking at her going, man, it took me 2.5 years to do what you just did in 6 months. But it's become a passion of mine now, watching the transformation and watching somebody else get it.
Yeah, that's great. I like the signs behind you: conquer, hustle, grind, execution.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a big believer in affirmations. So, my day starts, I'm an early riser. I get up typically at 2:30 every morning.
I know, that's the time I'm peeing.
And usually I get up, kind of do my affirmations and my daily goals, and then usually some exercise, and then I'm trying to be at the office by 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
I found I obviously get more done between 5:30 and 8 o'clock while everybody else is kind of just getting going, then I get done the rest of the day,
So you really are an early riser. So which is, everybody's got to do what works for them. But tell me, what do you get done between 5 and 8?
Email follow-up, lead follow-up, a lot of reading. So I like to, make sure I'm got a book in hand and doing some reading.
What were you reading this morning?
I'm actually reading Rocket Fuel.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're actually implementing the EOS system beginning of August. So just trying to get that dialed in. And then mostly the email follow-up, I've kind of become trying to keep that zero inbox as much as possible, just so I don't let stuff overwhelm and build up. So I try to use that time to get everything kind of squared away and make sure the team's going to be set for the day with any emergencies that we have pop up.
So your email box is zero?
No, that's the goal.
Oh. You don't want to. You don't want to know what mine is.
I know. I get anxiety sometimes when I look at it, and I got like 50 emails in there. So I try to get it down as low as possible, where I just kind of use my email inbox as my to-do list for the day.
Well, I have, I think, 10,000.
That I don't know what I would do. I probably wouldn't be able to go to sleep at night. That would drive me insane.
That's because I don't delete everything, and because I don't put everything in a little envelope. What do you do with all the emails?
I archive them after I'm done with them, just in case. What's funny is I look back and I've been saving a bunch of these emails for 8 years. I don't think I've ever needed one of them, but that day comes, I'm going to have it. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, in our state, I think it's 7 years. You have to keep the file.
I did go back and find a survey and a couple closing statements that just didn't get filed where they should have at one point. So it was helpful, I guess, in some regards, but for the most part, it's just, I try to put them in the folders, but that usually becomes a complete mess. So,
so let's talk about EOS system and Rocket Fuel. So what made you go that route? And let's talk a little bit about the book.
Sure. The big thing for me is, I have a coach. You and I actually have the same coach, and looking to see where the business is going is something that I haven't always been the best at. For example, looking back where I am today, versus where I was 2 years ago, I was scared to get that buyer's agent. I was afraid to kind of lose control. And also, I was afraid of the income loss. And quite frankly, if I would have known today what I know then, what I know now, I could be where I am today 2 years ago, had I just taken that leap of faith. And talking with my coach, we decided that, hey, it was a good idea to go ahead and read this, think about implementing the EOS system, because it's going to give me an idea of what the next couple years could and should look like, with the growth that we're on. And after reading it and going through the onboarding with EOS, just their 90-minute initial call, I need to do it now because it's going to give me and my team a lot of clarity. Sometimes as the team leader, the visionary, we get sidetracked very easily. And, hey, it's not the shiny new penny syndrome, but it's, hey, let's move in this direction. Let's go here. And I know that I'm pulling my agents and my team in some crazy directions at time. And I need it for the stability for them. So we all have a clear direction. And I love the terminology, an analogy that they use is, so we're all rowing in the same direction. Because constantly I find ourselves where I may be rowing this way. We got my assistants going this way because that was the idea last week. And I think it's just going to bring, a lot of resolution to some of the chaos that I'm honestly the cause of at times. Right.
We usually are, because there's so many great ideas.
And that's what that, the EOS system teaches you to have the integrator. So basically, that's someone that can tell me, no, Mark, that's a great idea, but not today.
Right. Well, keeping on track, we so easily can be distracted. So what would you say if you're looking at your business? What do you think is like the things that you do best? Not you specifically, but your company.
The lead follow-up, we've been very good with online leads and converting online leads, and providing great service. One of the things that really makes us stand out from right when I first got my license, after my very first deal, I realized the value in online reviews. So I made it a passion and just a standard that we were going to get a review on every single closing if we could. And because of that, I think we're sitting at 250 reviews on a couple different platforms, and we're 30 or 40 reviews ahead of the next closest agent. And a lot of times, I'll get calls from sellers that are doing research before they decide to call a listing agent. They'll say, "Hey, I read your reviews. It looks like you guys are doing great. I'd like to talk with you about listing my home." And that's been a true a gift that the time and energy that I put in early on is still reaping benefits 8 years later, because it takes all of them compiled to be able to offer, a 5-star service basically to our clients. And, before I got into real estate, I was in the boating industry for 10 years as a service manager. So I learned the customer service side of transactions. And, when somebody buy a boat, it was level 10 service all the way through before, during, and after the sale. And, I took that value and brought it over into my real estate career. And, we've really taken customer service to the highest level that we think we can provide our clients. We recently brought on a client care coordinator who her main role is going to be basically just to ride alongside our buyers and sellers from the time of contract through closing and then after closing. And so she's going to be the main point of the contact for these clients, calling 7 days after closing, 20 days after closing, 30 days after closing, just to see if there's anything we can do to help, any little things that pop up, any recommendations we can offer, just so they know that we're there for them for the long haul, not just the sale and see you later,
Yeah, that's great. So you talked about follow-up, and what makes your follow-up so special?
As far as lead follow-up?
Yeah, because you're in the office from 5 to 8. You're following up. Are you sending emails? Are you sending videos? What are you doing, Mark?
A lot of emails and just basically dialing into the actual leads and looking at the behavioral patterns of them and making sure that we're following up and that none of them get dropped through, get the ball dropped on them, because it's very easy for someone to come onto your website, sign up, and then you don't see them for a couple weeks, and then you kind of forget about them. So we're making sure that, we're reviving some of those leads that maybe came through that didn't get the initial warm and fuzzies from us, just making sure that they're taken care of. And then, again, with this market we're in right now, staying in front of the buyers that we're working with, because we've had several buyers that kind of just, hey, I'm taking a pause right now. This is a very frustrating market. I'm sick of losing out on multiple offers. And, we're trying to make sure that we don't just let them sit there, because the next thing you know, they could jump on somebody else's website and boom, they're gone. So we're making sure, even though they're telling us they're not ready right now, we're making sure there's nothing we can do to help them, and let them know about new properties that we have that aren't currently on the market that may be a good fit for them, where they won't necessarily have to get into a bidding war. We can do some off-market sales.
Okay. So everything in your market is everything that's selling very quickly?
It is. And I will say this, in the last 3 weeks, we've seen kind of a pause, basically. Buyer demand's kind of pulled back, and it's very traditional. I would say this is probably the most normal thing I've seen in the market in the last 18 months. Is the seasonality. It seems like it kind of set in here at the end of June. And that's typical for our market. It kind of slows down over the 4th of July, and then usually till right kind of through school starts, and then it ramps back up again. We're in a heavy military market. We got 3 military bases within 40 miles of us.
Oh, wow.
So PCS season is when permanent change of station, when the military moves. That usually happens like in June. So it's kind of always a very busy time for us. And then we always kind of get this little you can breathe for a couple weeks period.
Got it. Yeah, I never even heard what PCS.
Permanent change of station. The military, they move stations about every 3 years.
Got it.
So you've got the constant turn of the market here. And
that's good for you.
and that's one thing that I noticed, that I saw in our market after I started, probably about my 3rd year, really started doing some deals, was, there's a lot of nice beach houses over on the beach and condos and $1 million homes and everything. But I felt that I was better serving my clients working the military community, because they need to buy a home. They have to buy a home. Everybody on the beach wants a beach house. It would be nice to have a condo. And I felt like, okay, here I am all weekend long, showed these people 20 condos, and they go, oh, you know what? We'll buy one next year. Talk to you later and see, and that was very frustrating. So to me, I felt like the military client was the route to go, because if you give them great service on the front end, they're going to be a client for life. So when they get 3 years, they decide to sell their home, you're also going to have a potential listing if you provide that great service. So it made a lot of sense. And quite honestly, it was a lot more rewarding helping a family get into a house and into a community that was a good fit for them, versus an investor trying to turn a buck on a condo,
Well, with the secondary home, you don't necessarily ever need to buy it. So unless you're really, really motivated or need to do that 1031 exchange.
Exactly.
You're not.
We get those, and we work some of them, but it's just not our bread and butter, if you will.
Right. No, that's good. You have to know what you want to do, what you like to do, what you're good at, and keep doing that.
Exactly.
So often we want to chase a shiny new object.
Absolutely. And one of my mentors told me early on, we can work over on the beach houses and you sell the $1 million houses, or you can sell these affordable homes for the military that you got this constant flow. So it's like fast nickels or slow dimes. Which one do you want? And I said, well, you know what? I think I'll take fast nickels all the time, instead of sitting around waiting for somebody to possibly buy an investment property. And it just made more sense to me, again, more rewarding helping someone move their family into a home than it was buying an investment property for me. And it's funny because talk to a lot of new agents, and they're always kind of hit me up wondering what we're doing different and everything else. And when I explain that mentality to them, they're like, wow, that really makes a lot of sense. I've been working over on the beach and I only sold 3 houses last year. And I said, well, you might want to think into a more normal, steady residential side, at least put some of that into your business where you've got that constant flow.
Well, that constant flow allows you to be able to project your business as well. So we work off of run rate. Do you do that?
No.
So yeah, we take what we have in the pipeline of listings that are coming in, and then we'll pull that data, and then we say, okay, well, we have a listing. It's not listed yet. It's going to list, say, August. We can project, okay, that size property and price point usually sells in 30 days. I usually have a 45-day close, so we expect that property to close in October. So we'll put that money into the October bucket, and we do that for all the listings so that we can see where we have, the income coming in, and then we can make hopefully good financial decisions on how to spend our money, in regards to advertising or new hires or things like that. So it's all pulled from our broker man account, and then it's dumped into Excel.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're in the process of setting up Sisu, and that's going to have that in there. We've got all of our coming soon listings, so we're going to be able to project out there once we get that all built out. And we've had a lot of projects this year. My assistant, who I'm going to be moving into the director of operations role, she's been wearing a lot of hats, here recently, because we've got a lot of stuff started, and we're just trying to tie it all together. We didn't realize that this year was going to be as crazy as it was as far as sales go. We closed 160 transactions last year, and this year already we're at 165 closed and pending. So all of our projects, our big long-term goals, kind of took a sidecar to serving our clients. So it's been a little bit frustrating on that regard, but I know we'll get to it.
The joys of being a small business owner. The joys of being a small business. Well, you can solve the problem. How do you be the solution? So I don't know, maybe hire somebody else who's just going to do the projects.
And that's exactly what we're doing right now is looking for her replacement, that assistant that she can offload some other stuff to her. But it's also challenging right now. We're finding nobody seems to want to work either.
You have that syndrome too.
Yeah, I'm not super excited. I ran an ad. We've had an ad running for a couple of weeks, and it was funny when I hired my last assistant. I had 90 applicants in like the first 5 days, and we're running on 3 weeks, and I think we're at like 40. And and it's the quality of the applicant has gone down dramatically from what it was a couple years ago, just by looking at the resumes and stuff. So I realized that that's going to be, guess what? It is what it is, and that's going to be a little bit longer process as well. And I didn't get to compliment you on the name of your show. I absolutely love it.
Thank you. We came up with it last year during the lockdown. Pennsylvania was closed for 10 weeks, 10 weeks we were closed. No real estate. Well, you could do real estate like this, virtual, but no in-person showings unless you had a waiver. Some companies got a waiver. Isn't that nice? And then some companies didn't. So I don't know how that company, they're not going to give COVID or get COVID or whatever. Anyway, it was a hot mess. And I sat there and said, well, what do we want this to be called? And I said, well, we help a lot of people solve their problems, challenges. We provide the solution to get it done. And so I was sitting and I'm like, the solution. So it's that simple, right? Sometimes it's just that simple.
It's funny because I use that with my team all the time. Whenever we have an issue come up, I said, you guys want to live in the problem or the solution? who cares what happened? It's done. Let's fix it. Like, let's not sit here and dwell on who did it, let's not point the fingers. Let's just be the solution and move on to the next thing. And it's, now they're starting to think like me and use that back at me when I start doing the same shit. Pardon my French.
Oh, no, it's okay.
When I'm living in the problem, complaining about something, they're like, "Come on, Mark, live in the solution." And I said, "Well, I guess what I'm trying to relay to them is working if they're using it back on me."
Yes, it's working if they're using it back on you. We start every meeting with number one core value, be the solution. So yesterday I asked everybody what they've done to be the solution in the last week with a client, one of our clients, and we talked about other times when we were the solution. And, we don't look at a transaction as sometimes people say, well, I won't do this price point. And I said, well, I explained that doesn't matter. It's about the person. And we took a transaction that was like 50 grand and turned it into, we listed it, we sold it. We sold that client for 14 more properties. No, probably 20 more properties. He then sold a portfolio of properties that we sold to another client. So we sold all of them. There's no other brokers, right? So that $150,000, you'll left to about 50 transactions and probably $250,000 in revenue to the firm.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're really good about selling our own stuff, especially like the investment, because we have tons of buyers. And if we can't sell it ourselves, it's usually because it's not priced right.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And what's the saying? No marketing plan in the world can sell an overpriced listing. That's
right. I would say I could bring a circus to your house and we could have a big party and it doesn't matter because the people will come to the party, but they're not buying the goods.
Sure.
And that's another part of the industry. It's a little frustrating too, because when you try to talk reason to unreasonable people, we had in a property about 100 showings. The client refused to adjust the price. They did, and then they didn't. It still need to be adjusted. I'm not the buyer. Sometimes they get there and it still doesn't make sense. Some houses, it just doesn't make sense. I said, well, if it was 100,000, would it sell? 250. If it was 100, would it sell? Well, yeah. Well, then what is it about? It ends up always being about price if you're getting the people there.
Sure. If you're getting the activity and it isn't moving, you've got prices, usually conditions not matching price, or it's just overpriced to begin with,
Yeah, some properties, though, even though it makes sense on paper, they should be priced at this, because we have something called here. It's called a Trinity. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
So we said it's like Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. It's 3 floors, and in each floor there's one room, and there's a spiral stair that wraps it. So they're only about 12 feet wide. So you walk in, you have back wall kitchen, little living area. Imagine a step that goes like this in a circular up. Then you have bedroom, bathroom, bedroom, circular up, another bedroom. Some people, no matter, those always sell for less than they probably should, because if you're 6 foot tall, chances are you're not buying that house.
Gotcha.
If you have big feet, you're probably not buying that house. And if you're fat, you're probably not buying that house, because you cannot maneuver yourself up and down the steps. So there's things like that.
Sure.
Sure,
yeah, there's no doubt about that. We've got houses that are, very similar in the same neighborhood, but you're looking at them and the finishes, just exterior finishes, aren't the same consistency as the rest of the house. Everything else matches, but You know, you got wood cedar siding versus stucco or brick, and guess what? That house is going to be 15 or 20 grand less because you've got maintenance involved, and nobody wants, you know, they want that maintenance free life.
Sure. Sure. So tell me, what are some of the things that you're working on? You said you had a bunch of projects that you're working on in your business, and you're doing a lot of different things. What are they?
So we're we're in the growth phase right now. We got the new agents coming on, and our onboarding procedures is not exactly what I want. So we've been working on our policies and procedures manual, trying to get some of this the onboarding uploaded to Tranual, and so we can make it repeatable and duplicatable to where we're not having to pull people to actually do the training. We're basically sending them to the Tranual so they can kind of do some of that stuff online. And then getting our CSU set up, and then we've just got some marketing things we've been wanting to do, and it's just kind of just getting pushed to the side because we got thrown into the growth. We recently received we're going to be Zillow Flex partners now, so we got the Zillow Flex account, and so now we're ramping up that. So that's where the agent push has come. So everything else is kind of taking a side note to that for right now. So
what does that mean, that they're calling, giving you the opportunities? And
yeah, they're going to give us the opportunities. You go on a referral basis with Zillow, and they ramp up the leads. So the lead flow is going to be a little bit, not a little, a lot more than we're used to. So we got to ramp up the agent side of things to be able to keep up with the flow that they're predicting.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so we're excited. You know, it's going into something a little bit new and different for us. But you know, again, the ebbs and flows of real estate, you got to be flexible and be able to shift and pivot and turn. And so it's kind of like, okay, onto this thing, and everything else kind of sits there in limbo for a little bit, you know. But I think with a couple new staff members, once we get them, then we'll kind of have everything we need. All the pieces will be coming together for the puzzle.
That's fantastic. So tell me, what are some of your favorite books? Business books. I read Rocket Fuel. Let's see. I like a lot of. Trying to think. I can't remember the name of the author. Just went blank. What is his name? Let me see if I can pull it up. Oh, Grover. About winning.
Leadership, winning, and about leadership and execution. And you know, it's kind of funny. I used to read a lot of books about, you know, how to be the best agent, and you know, as my career has evolved, now it's how to be a leader, how to be a better listener, how to be, you know, be able to manage people, how to be, you know, as our coach talks about, you know, the empathy side of things, and how to, you know, be more passionate and really get in touch with my true self. And so I'm really doing a lot of introspective reading, you know, trying to really what makes me tick. You know, getting sober, I did a deep dive on myself and learned a lot about it. But now as I'm growing as a business leader, you know, I want to make sure I'm staying true to my true self, and that I'm not changing because the business is growing.
Right. No, I understand that. It's something that has to be worked on all the time.
Absolutely, because especially with my past, I don't want to. If I'm not moving forward, if I'm sitting still, to me that's moving backwards. You know, and they always tell you, you know, if you're not working on your sobriety, you're one step closer to your next drink. And so I spend a lot of time talking with other people in recovery and doing the next right thing as far as my personal life goes. So what's funny is that most of the stuff that I learned living a sober life, I've been able to roll right over to my business, and it's actually helped people I've met in my business by teaching them how I'm living my personal life. So it's been really cool.
How you've been sober for 8 years?
8 years, yes, ma'am. 3,075 days, but who's counting?
One day at a time,
That's right.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all you can do is today. You can't change yesterday, and you can't worry about. Sorry, you can't worry about tomorrow. One day at a time. I mean, that's if you take that every day and figure out what can I do today to move things forward.
Absolutely. You roll that into your lead follow-up. You roll it into every little bit of your business, because in reality, it can seem overwhelming. Oh, I have 50 calls to make. Okay. Just make them as you make them. I got 200 people to follow up with. Well, you can't do all that one day. Break it down into bite-sized chunk and do what you can today and get after it again the next day.
That's it. There's no other way to do it. I said, take it into chunks of time blocking, following a calendar, following a schedule. It's critical to growth. I don't know how you can run your life if you're not following a schedule. Is that, you keep a schedule.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you don't, then your schedule's going to run you. And I'll tell you, I wasn't the best at it early on, just because I was so hungry to make it, that I kind of let the business run me, and was running around at 9 o'clock at night showing houses and everything else. And now it's kind of got to the point where you got to be able to unplug.
You have to be able to unplug.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no other way.
No other way. And I'll tell you that now that I'm building my team, I'm requiring them to take a minimum of 1 day off a week, and really pushing for 2.
That's kind of tough in real estate.
It is, but I'm really pushing for them to do it, or at least try to schedule it.
What days do you follow for that?
I've been fortunate enough to kind of get my weekends off for myself.
Good
And
for
then
you.
with my agents, I'm really I'm pushing for them to take a day or 2 off during the week.
Well, I just said the magic happens when nothing's happening. Right?
Absolutely.
That's when it all comes together.
Yeah, and I told them, I said, you're going to go on vacation, just like it happens to all of us. As soon as you book a vacation, that's when you're going to get super busy. So I said, just do like I do. Try to plan a vacation every month if you want. You can keep a constant business coming in if you do that.
Definitely. Where's your next one going?
That's right.
Where are you headed?
Where am I headed? Actually, a business trip. I just got back from Dallas last weekend for a convention, and I'm headed to Nashville at the end of this month.
Oh, good for you. Going to Nashville for the 2 days.
Yes.
That's awesome. And what about personal trip?
Personal trip. I don't know the next one we've got. We've done a couple this year. I think I'm gonna hope my daughter's not listening. I think I'm gonna surprise them before a little getaway before school starts. So
that's awesome. Do you get to go? Do you bring them to Disney a lot since you're not that far from there?
Yeah, we do. Best thing was we went during August of last year in COVID, right after they opened. I had some friends that went and said, "Oh, you got to go right now, man. Just go next week." And I said, "Okay." So we did, and I'll tell you, I don't know that I can ever go again. It was the most amazing time I've ever had. We literally got to ride every ride almost damn near all of them twice right in a row without getting off the ride because there was nobody in line. It was,
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
it was pretty crazy. I told my wife, I was like, we're spoiled now. I said, I don't know you're ever going to get me back here again.
That's awesome. I haven't been there in, oh gosh, a long time. 30 years.
I saw some videos from there last week, and it looked like it was worse than I've ever seen it. Yeah,
Man.
and I understand it. I get it, but I don't get waiting in line for 4 hours to ride a minute and a half ride, and people are doing that. That's insanity to me.
Yeah, but that's not happening over here. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, Mark. So listen, what do we got in store for the rest of the year? Where are you going to end up this year?
Goals. Hopefully, we'll hit 260 closed transactions. Hopefully, land somewhere around 85 million in volume, and probably agent count. We're at 6 now. I think we're going to probably be at 10, probably by the end of the year. Is kind of the goal.
That's awesome. So very exciting. Exciting times ahead.
Exciting, scary, but best part is I've got a roadmap, and that's one of the reasons I keep a coach right there by my side so they can see what I can't see. And, that's probably been one of the best investments I've had, in my career. I think 2015, I got my first coach, and then recently switched to another one, added a second coach this year. And, that's something I'll never run this business without one.
All right. You have 2 now?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're coach with John and who else?
Tom Ferry.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Are you go to his event?
No, not going to this year. It's that would be 3 times in 3 months in Dallas, and I think I'm going to be Dallas out next month, so I'm going to bow out of that one.
Well, I congratulate you on all of your success and your continued success, and keep on being the solution for the families you serve and your family and your staff, and one day at a time.
That's right. Thank you very much, Maria.
I'm thankful and grateful for having you on today. So thank you so much, Mark, for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.